Eileo guys, and welcome back to yet another account review. Here today I have Rose's account, so let's go ahead and see what she is working with. But before I begin, make sure you go ahead and like the video if you really do appreciate it and enjoy it. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that already. But let's go ahead and get right into it, my boys. So Rose, I've taken a look at your mons and most of them are fairly well built. You actually have some quite decent gems for your level in my opinion, which shows that either you just have good RNG or you've actually been farming golems hardcore while you've been leveling up. So I can't really complain too much there. I didn't see like a water Shiva with triple recovery. I didn't see a light Nike with triple attack or something crazy like that along those lines. The main issue there was just you running mons on like a ruined set but not even hitting 70-80% crit on those sets. I mean, ideally you want to at least aim for 80 or 85 so you can run a crit lead with that, but at level 42 we're not going to worry about that too much. But as requested though, let's go ahead and pick out some golem teams for you, and then we can pick out dragon teams as well within the same golem team pretty much, at least for the weaker dragons. Again, you may have to tweak this for the later dragons, but do keep in mind that all of this advice here is very professional, but it is unlicensed. So if someone finds a better way to do this, they're not wrong. If the way I do it is the best, it doesn't technically mean that I'm right. I'm just providing advice. So please remember that. But let's go ahead and pick out a B17 for you, because again, this will translate over to dragons even if you don't use this team. So for B7, obviously you need some wood mons, and you have your Shiva built up, and I believe he is triple attack, so he hits hard AF. You can't go wrong with Dark Mona. You really can't go wrong with Dark Mona. If you want to bring your Light Indra in there because he does have Elemental Edge for his first skill, that is perfectly viable. And then just another DPS. See if you have anything else that hits pretty strong. What's Battle Rush and Defense down? That could work. If you don't want to invest in him, I mean, you can keep him at 50 and throw some gems on him if you don't have gems on him already. But that should be sufficient. I mean, that should be a sufficient team right there. If not, if you don't want to bring him in, even though that defense down could potentially help your runtime, you could always switch one of these out with Tina, or just run with Tina and Mona and Indra and Shiva, and you should have no problems with B7. Now, in terms of dragons, again, you could follow suit, especially with the earlier dragons, just by getting away with damage. But if you really want to clear out those dragons, then in this case, maybe keep one of these two, or you can also drop Indra if you want it, but you could keep one of these two or keep them, and you may need a healer of some sort. You do have not water cherry, but you have wood cherry, which should be perfectly fine as a healer. If you need a healer for the later dragons, should be perfectly fine. And in this case though, I mean, Dark Mona and Tina are both viable, but maybe your Light Indra would be a little bit more valuable because of that Elemental Edge advantage. As long as he has the damage to back it up, that should be perfectly viable for dragons as well, especially with him being on his way to Evo 3. So a comp like this for dragons, especially the earlier dragons, should be perfectly fine for you. If you find that running 4 DPS on the later dragons makes your run unstable, i.e. that you die every X amount of runs, feel free to throw in Cherry as a healer. Get her up to 60 when you can, and make sure she's triple HP with recovery subs, and she should be alright. So moving on, your B8 team, however, B8, super duper easy. It looks like you already have a water Loki, which he has Hunter and Predator, so you could take out Kraken. I'm assuming you're just running her for the crit lead so you can have Dark Mona with max crit. You don't necessarily need Water Valk. She doesn't hurt, so to speak. What does she have? Predator and Defense down, but definitely Loki. You can use Mona as a wave clear. If you want to keep Valk in there, perfectly fine. And if you want to keep Dark Tina in there, as long as her gems are optimal or usable, keep her in there. If not, you could always throw in Thor or someone like that, and that should be perfectly it for B8. Now for Dragons B8. Well, not Dragons B8, but now for the Fire Dragon. You want a similar comp to this. I personally am not a fan of Water Valk. I do have an Evo 3 one. I personally am not a fan, but if you love her, feel free to continue to use her there. Water Thor could definitely help as well because he's essentially just a Nat 4 version of Mona. And of course you have Dark Mona there for more damage. So you should be able to burst through at least the lower level dragons with no problems concerning the fire one. But again, this goes right back to the thing I said before. If you need a healer, then feel free to drop one of your DPS. I would say try to keep the Mon with Hunter though. Very, very minimum. Try to keep him in there the most, in my opinion, because that Hunter is great damage. And let's see if there's any other healer in the world other than what you have. You could throw in Water Purse. Like, you could throw in Water Purse as your passive healer. Congratulations. You should be pretty much done with the Fire Dragon. As long as your DPS is optimal and Purse has enough healage to keep the squad going, you should be pretty much done there. If you're having problems again with that, then feel free to drop one of your DPS out and bring in some CC, aka your Sura that you're working on. And again, that should be perfectly fine. Enkidu could also be valuable there too with his attack down if you need it, so keep him in mind. And he does have Hunter as well. But here's a sort of a team that you could use for dragons. It's really you picking out what you want to use and testing and trying that out yourself. This is just a template. Let's move on over here to B9. And again, remember, we can just translate this to dragons. You have a Fire Draka, so B9's done. This video is over. B9's done. But you could bring your Fire Draka here. Definitely Tina or Mona if you want as a wave clearer. And of course, you could also bring in Fire Arthur just as a CC Mon if you need it. But let's see who else you have here. Wukong, Purse, you can use those in B10. Sig. I wish you had like a Leo. A Fire Leo. I mean, he's not necessary, but I wish you had like a Fire Leo. If you don't want to do Arthur, feel free to put in Indra because he has an elemental edge advantage. Who else could we put in there? Really wish you had a Fire Leo. I'm trying to look for mons that hit the most hardest because that's going to make your run the most stable if they can clear stuff out before it can kill them. You don't have a Leo. I mean, it's Dark Mona and Dark Tina isn't worst case scenario either. So this team is okay. This team is perfectly fine. I would prefer more Fire Mons just to have them laying around, but it's not necessary. Again, if you're having problems, make sure you throw in Fire Keep It as a healer, and you should be pretty much good to go there. What is your Shadow? Is he only Evo 1? Yeah, he's Evo 1. So we're not going to worry too much about him. And let's move on to a B10 team. So for B10, ideally, you want 2 wave clearers and 2 sappers. If not, 1 wave clearer, 3 sappers. And if you can't do that either, you want at least 1 sapper, 1 wave clearer, 1 mon that can heal, and 1 mon that can tank. But let's see what you're working with here. So you have Fire Draka already, and you have Mona. So you could do Draka, Mona, or Tina. I wouldn't say all 3, but Draka, Mona, or Tina, or Draka and Tina, Draka and Mona. Mona and Tina if you wanted to, but I would say keep Draka in there. So Draka, Mona, and you have 2 purses, so you could run 2 purses and then 2 wave clearers, and that should be pretty much your B10 team. I would say put your fire purses on HP attack. Make sure they're at least Evo 2 if possible, which they may be. Get them up to 60. Congratulations, you're pretty much done. You're pretty much done. If you can get optimal gems on your Draka, or at least make them strong enough with wave clearing, you could also drop your Dark Mona and put in another sapper. So you can run 3 sappers. Because you do have Wet Artemis. And you're done. That's it for B10. I would recommend, unless you have like a whole bunch of light Mowglis or light Phoenix or light whatever laying around, that you try to bring in at least 2 sappers minimum to help keep your runtime down. But this should get you a minute and a half or less, which in terms of B10 is fantastic. It's fantastic. So that's a B10 option for you. Now this is for Golems B10, of course. For Dragons B10, we're not going to go there. But if you're facing the Dark Dragon, you can't go wrong with Fire Draka. You just can't go wrong. I just use them in all my dragons because I'm lazy. Again, you can't go wrong here with Dark Mona or Dark Tina as a wave clearer. And preferably, I would want someone that can either CC or apply defense down. I know Wukong can do it, but he has Sea Strike. She's just double HP Siphon. Draka's gonna wave clear. Mona's gonna wave clear just for damage. What does Cherry have? Adrenaline and Shield? Yeah. Wish she had like a DPS that could do defense down if I'm just not seeing it. I mean, you have Wukong, but nah. Basically a Mon that could do defense down. Yeah, I mean, you could use Wu Jing here in theory. He should be perfectly fine, but I would prefer to have someone that could do defense down, like Dark Thor, for example, just to help make the run a little bit more smoother. And of course, if you need a healer instead of running 4 DPS, just slide in, you know, I would say Fire Keep It in this case, if possible. Slide him in there. Don't bring your Light Injurer because he is going to die. He is going to die. In the case you want to go safe, I mean, feel free to bring in your Light Nike and bring in Purse as well. Water Purse as healing. Where is she at? And that should be a safe team. Not the fastest ideally, but that should be a pretty safe team. Will you need it? Try it out, see if it works. If not, tweak it from there. But I don't think you'll need it as long as Draka can carry his weight. And I wish you had more Mons with... I mean, you could use Loki here. You also have your Shiva with Predator, and he's on triple attack. He may or may not be a little bit glassy for the later dragons, so do keep that in mind. But we want at least 2 wave clearers. Really whatever nuker that you have, if you have any at all. Which I'm not really seeing. But ideally, you want a nuker here. You want at least 2 nukers. You want a Mon that can do defense down and then a nuker. But we can address that afterwards. But that's my recommendation for your Golem teams. So definitely focus on that first. And then like I said before, you can always just write this down or screenshot it and then translate that over to Dragons. If you're dying in Dragons with these teams, make sure you try to stay within the same elements if possible. And of course, replace one of your DPS with a healer. Try and replace the DPS that you feel is the most useless in that team for that time with a healer. And that's pretty much it. Let's go back to your Mon box though. And all the Mons that I've shown, if you want to use them, feel free to use them. Definitely raise them up to 60 if you haven't already. Try to get them Evo 2 if possible. At least with 4 to 5 star gems plus 12 minimum. And they should be good to go. But let's see if you have any dark nukers at all. I mean, you have Mona. Which, don't get me wrong, Mona's perfectly fine. Mona's like one of your only dark nukers. But I mean like someone like Dark Thor, Dark Snow White, Dark Gatito, Dark Mowgli even. Mods that have Hunter on their first skill is what I'm kind of... is what I'm trying to look for here. That may not be the case. You do have Colt. You could always work on Colt. I mean, he has defense down for his first move, but you could always work on Colt. Dark Valk. But that might be it. That might be the only pickings that you have right now. That's the only, I guess, downfall of your account right now. You really need some more dark nukers. Like I said before, Gatito's always great. You can't go wrong with Dark Snow White. You can't go wrong with Dark Thor. You can't go wrong with Dark Mowgli even. Not saying Dark Mowgli is the best, but she is a Dark Mon with Hunter as our first skill. So until you get those nukers, you can always replace them with any Mon that has Hunter on their first skill. They may not be as strong, but if that's all that you have, that's all that you have, and there's nothing wrong with that. But again, you could pick out the Mons that I've shown you that you may want to use for dragons and golems. Work on getting those to 60 first and getting them up there, and you should be able to clear Tower of Chaos. I mean, you have an Evo 3 Draka on a Ruin set. I mean, it's not the world's greatest Ruin set, but with a crit lead and maybe a little bit more crit on him, he should be perfectly fine. So running Draka and a Mon that can CC like Arthur or Water Sura, that right there is already half the battle. Like if you run Dark Mona, your Fire Draka, either Fire Arthur or your Water Sura and Purse, you should be able to auto Tower of Chaos. I mean, obviously get them to level 60 and get their gems up to plus 12 minimum, but you should be able to auto it, because my team is very, very similar to what I just did it right there. I think I run like Fire Draka, Water Purse, and then I forgot the rest. Oh, Water Sura, and then someone else, and I can just auto Tower of Chaos without ever lifting a finger. So you should definitely be able to do Tower of Chaos now, but you need to get that Sura built up. You need to get the Sura built up. If you're not going to use Sura, then you need to get your Fire Arthur on board and start using him, and you should be done with Tower of Chaos. Now, addressing Colossus, you're not ready for Colossus yet. You're not ready for Colossus yet. I'm not sure if you're interested in Colossus. You're not ready just yet. Definitely try and pick up more Dark Nukers in the future. Is it still possible now? But of course, but we're going to need optimal gems for that. And of course, I do have Colossus guides up. Nestia has Colossus guides. There's content out there for you if you need it. And of course, you can feel free to ask me a question or anything like that, and we can get that settled when the time comes. But that's pretty much it for this review, Rose. I definitely hope it helps. I definitely hope it helps very much. Overall, your account's pretty great for level 42. Like I said, I don't have much complaints. It's a lot more neater and a lot more efficient than what mine look like at level 42. But yeah, if you have any more questions, feel free to let me know, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. And feel free to check out the video and check out the comments below, because someone might have better insight than me with certain things. And until next time, my boys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.